Alrighty folks, we are back here and I spent a bunch of time so far working on getting this driver's side fender cleaned up. And what I've been working on primarily is getting this style line back in line. It is dented in quite a bit, it was. You can see now we've got a couple areas here where I still need to tap it out. I've been using my, my body hammers. But originally this was about 3/16 inch down in most areas from about here over to here. And I'm trying to go ahead and pound that back in line. We've got some string here, just used as a guide to help me figure out where that line is and to kind of keep me straight. So pretty much got the fender tipped over and I'm hitting it from the backside with my body hammers and getting that cleaned up. You can see over here on the passenger side that there's also some damage. Tough to see, but kind of right in this area here, it is caved in as well. And then this whole area here in the fender is pushed in probably about 1/4 of an inch. It'll have to come out. Down there towards the base, there's some damage there as well. And then up here in the front especially, there's a good heavy ding up and down going right through this part of the style line. So that's going to be more fun to repair. But for over here on the driver's side, I started hitting it with the abrasive pad last night to get off some of the paint. Well, there's not much paint left actually. This is all surface rust. A little paint here. This can maybe give you an indication of the body work that I'm going to need to do on this thing. Cleaning it off, you can see there is some damage here and just all over. It's kind of rough, but the replacement panels for these things are about $600. So I want to try and get these things restored or repaired versus just slapping something new on there because, well, that's not a whole lot of fun. So what I'm going to end up doing is getting this thing cleaned off, hit it with a little bit of guide coat, because once I get all of the paint off here, I'm going to lose my markings where all the low spots are, and I'll go through and tap a number of these back into shape the best I can. But I know once I go over it, clean it off, I'm going to have to hit it with some skim coat and just be very cautious on how much I use, because I really don't want this thing to turn into a Bondo Queen. Another thing I'm going to end up doing is grabbing the sandblaster and cleaning off the panels with that as well. I'm hoping I can use that to get some of these pitted areas a little more cleaned out and make sure those are clean to start with for cleaning up and kind of all over in here. And if you look on the back of the panel, the back of the fender, we have some undercoating from original, some seam sealer or some, what do you call that stuff? I just thought of it. Why can't I think of what this stuff is? Anyways, you guys know what I mean. It's the body goop, glue, adhesive, anyways. Get that off of there and just again, get back here, nice clean surface to start with. So we can go ahead and prime and undercoat again on this side, get it cleaned up, ready to go back on, because you can see there is some surface rust here starting, and I just want to get this nipped in the butt, especially where this repair was put in. We'll probably cut that out and start over. Another thing we are going to end up doing is replacing this inner fender. You know, this damage, it's never going to be right, especially since I don't have anything to pull it with, and trying to heat it up or beat it, I'm just going to make a bigger mess of it than it is now. So we're just going to replace it, take it out, and put it back in. But that also means the engine's got to come out of there. So that's going to be a great time to talk to Darren about these lovely headers that we all love so much. Maybe he'll want to do something different with them. Maybe, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But that's going to give us a great opportunity to go ahead, get the engine bay all cleaned up, repaint that. Engine is out, we can go ahead and paint the frame rails, get those all cleaned up, and just start working our way back once we get that done. Now, we are going to go ahead and use some of the Eastwood chassis black. I think we're going with the satin finish. I don't want a high gloss. I think that's going to set off really nicely with the sublime green paint. And we're going to kind of use that theme to go through for the rest of the undercoating and black colors on the car. Now, having said that, that's a lot of parts on order. We've got the other fender support is on order. We have a bunch of the hardware, like all these clips and bolts that go in here. There's the repair panel for in front of the rear wheel on the passenger side that has to get replaced, cut out and patched in. All those parts right now have about a 3 to 4 week lead time for delivery. If they're going to get here in less than that, I don't know. But in the meantime, we are going to have some more fun with some of the other cars. Got to keep stuff going for you guys, right? So that's going to give us an opportunity to dig back into the 52. The doors are primed on that, but everything else is still in its old paint from 50 years ago, or 70 years ago. That's it. My math fails me. So this is going to give us an opportunity to start taking this down to bare metal, fix it, prime it, and get ready for paint later on. And also on the 74 Spitfire, I have a frame for that in the horse trailer. And I've had that frame for about 13, 14 years, I think. And that needs to be cleaned off, prepped, blasted, primed, painted, yada, yada, yada. So we're also going to take more of that Eastwood chassis black and get that coated, protected, and ready to go. So when we do start working on this little guy over here, look at how small that is compared to the Mustang. That's small compared to this. And I don't know, that just seems small compared to this too. Who knows? Well, they're all small compared to the pickup. Anyways, it's going to give us an opportunity to start looking at what we're going to do with the Spitfire. And that is going to be certainly the frame swap. But where do we start? Do I start taking off the front end, the back end, make a new roller out of the new chassis, and just put this one up on blocks? Who knows? We'll figure that out. But that's going to give us a couple of different projects to work on in the meantime while we wait for parts. Oh, I got the Mustang to work on too. We've got to do the coolant flush on there, possibly heads. Who knows? But we also need the new convertible top on there too. And that one is sort of taking a priority with the better half, so we can go ahead and do some cruising here this summer. So between these 4 different projects here, we've definitely got work cut out for us. It's just going to be a matter of when parts show up. So I'm going to keep grinding away here, working on what I can. So you're certainly going to see some jumping around between vehicles because I am not hopeful that we're going to get all of these parts in the next week to 2 weeks. But we can at least start taking apart the bumper, get this cleaned up, get those frame members cleaned up, painted, work on the grill assembly, get that cleaned up and see what that's going to take for repair. We have the hood, that can be worked on. So we have plenty of stuff to work on. I just don't want to end up getting everything too far ahead of the rest of the car because I'd like to not have everything sitting in primer forever until we're ready to paint. But we still got to get the engine running. And once that's done, we've got to pull it, clean that up, replace the fender. As I said at the first video, we're just sort of peeling back the onion and digging deeper into it. So, you know, it's going to be a great thing when it's all said and done, but it's going to take a long time to get there. For now, I'm going to go back and keep working on this fender and hopefully get this thing worked out. You can see where I've been tapping on that style line. And what I've been doing is I'll take my hammer here at the point on it, the chisel point, and I'll set it in here, and then I'll hit the top of it, boom, with another hammer, so I'm not trying to use this as my only point of contact and end up hitting goofy angles, not square, and making that style line all messed up. So trying to go ahead and be methodical on how I do this so it looks good when it's all said and done. And you probably don't want to sit and watch that. So I'm going to sit here and make a lot of noise for a while, and I'll come back when I get this ready for paint, or at least cleaned off and ready for some prep work. So stay tuned. Alrighty gang, we are back here and gonna work on something a little bit different for a bit. We've got these 2 little supports here for the inner fender. Ow, I just poked myself with this. I'm not changing colors yet, so that's good. Yet. Anyways, what I was saying before I poked myself was the support here for the inner fender was cut on both sides. Run over to the driver's side. And you can see here, it's cut. The other half is here, but needs to be welded back in. But this patch is on both sides and needs to be redone to clean it. I did poke myself. Neat. This needs to get redone on both sides, cut out, cleaned up, and the original contours here had kind of a little snout sticking out. If you think of the old video game character, Cubert, had a little snout sticking out to let things like leaves and anything else that may come down here fall out of here. But I'm going to go ahead and take these off of both sides and take a look, make sure there's no rust behind here or anything worse. We are going to go ahead and hit it with some that Eastwood rust inhibitor and then work on putting a new one of these back on there and try and get a little bit of a contour down here, even if we just open this up a little bit, kind of flare it out to let the let anything that gets stuck back here out. So that is our next step. And I'm going to go ahead over on the passenger side, I think, to start with, just because I already have light over there. We'll see. Alrighty, folks, what's going on? We are back, and it is allergy season. My eyes are running. Apologize, I'm not crying because I'm happy or sad. I just can't see. So I started talking about working on the passenger side for these patches that had to come back out. And I figured as long as this side's got to come out anyways in a bit, I'm going to leave that. And I wandered over here to the driver's side and cut out the old patch. And toss that away. Catalog that somewhere in the trash. And we've got our hole here right now. And it looks like the original piece came down here. I don't even see that it was welded or connected to the frame here, or the cab, whatever you want to call it. And I see it kind of ended here. Maybe somebody else got to that before Darren, but I don't see any marks here where it would have been connected up to the base here. So my game is I'm going to get this cleaned up, all these edges and previous welds taken down, get us back to flat surface, hit it with the rust inhibitor, and then make a new patch that's going to come in here and around and fit in here flush versus lapped over here. And hopefully that will be a little bit cleaner. We're still going to leave our drain hole here, and that's going to allow stuff to escape. Probably try and put a little bit of a bump out in there, like I said. We'll see how that works, and just kind of move forward on this. We had to go ahead and get a bunch of our other parts ordered. We got that other inner fender patch panel for the rear fender, rear quarter, bunch of stuff. A couple $100 more out the window. There you go. So we're going to go ahead and just work on this piece here, and you know what? It's grinding and cutting and a lot of noise, and no one needs to hear that in their headphones. So we'll just come back when this area here is all cleaned up and ready to go ahead and make a template for that new patch. Alrighty, well, we are here. Get rid of my shadow. Not Puxatawny Phil after all. Anyways, we have made our first template for the driver's side. It is, I think, pretty good for a start, and I've got everything pretty well lined up, a wrap around, and this metal here was just too far gone to keep down here, and I will fill that in. I've got a new hole down here for the drain. I'm not sure if I'm going to put a little snout on there yet or not, or just clean this up once it's welded in place. But for tonight, the last thing I'm going to do before our color quits is get a couple of tacks in here just so it can get held in place, and then we will come back tomorrow and finish welding in the rest of the area here. We do have to go around stitch weld so we don't heat up any metal too much and warp it, which of course is going to happen here versus this heavier stuff here, and especially down here. But we'll go ahead and get our welder set up and just put in a couple of tacks, probably here, probably one around the bend, and then on this other corner here, and just let things sit there. Have I mentioned we've got our new welder finally? Yeah. Alrighty, well for right now that's tacked in place, and I'll come back in the better daylight to actually grab some more lights, bring down here with me. It's kind of a problem, it's dark. It looks bright on camera, but down when I'm working, lots of shadows. So, got this tacked in, I've got a little more trimming right here, so that fits in there, but otherwise the rest of it seems to be fitting in pretty well. I don't have a lot of reference to how this should have looked because the pieces that were in here were patched in before, so I don't have a good indication of if this was flat out, you know, kicked back in a little bit. But I'm just kind of going with kind of the natural lines that were already back here, which is dipped in just a little bit, slanted inwards. So I'll come back tomorrow, finish welding this up, and then get my grinding game on because I'm a better grinder than a welder. So we'll just keep going with that. But for now, it is the end of my day, and we'll come back tomorrow in the daylight. Alrighty, gang, we're gonna wrap it up here. Son of a... This is why we can't have nice things. As I was saying, we're gonna wrap it up here. I'm getting low on my grinding wheels, my flap discs, and basically what I'm running into is the metal up here is just thin enough that it's burning through even with lower settings on the welder. So what I'm pretty much having to do is stitch weld around and over all the thin spots you can see here where it's burned through a little bit. So basically I'm just going through and building all of this up and then taking my, my little flappy wheel and grinding it back down smooth, keeping this corner on it, and then going back and filling in where it's burned through or I missed. So that's just kind of be a long process, and there's always something on my lens. So as I was saying, that's going to be a process. But once I get supplies, hopefully I'll have more parts and we can start doing something else other than welding stuff we'll never see again. But figure try and do it right so the next person that may see it thinks that at least this was done half-assed. Anyways, when we come back in the next video, hopefully with this, I'm hoping to have parts in. I'm going to be working on the front fenders, getting those prepped, cleaned up, dents removed, holes filled in for trim pieces that won't be there anymore, marker lights, whatnot, just sort of deleting all those things we're not going to be putting back on. And hopefully I can get those almost cleaned up and ready for primer. Maybe a long shot. for one video because they are kind of in need of help. But once we get those done, also he'll have the sandblaster, so work on the front bumper, brackets, the hood, and then I think I'm gonna dig into the doors. So I don't think I need anything for the doors to get those cleaned up. I've got some metal, a rear quarter scrap that I can use for any door patches. So those I should be able to get cleaned up, ready to go, stripped down, prepped, primed, and sealed, and those will be ready for paint. So that's kind of a goal for the next probably 1 to 2 videos. And then hopefully by then I'll have things like my patch panels in. I can go ahead and work on the rear quarter panel, get that patched in, and then hopefully we'll be able to pull out the glass, and there's a patch behind the rear glass. And then the big project is going to be the roof. I gotta take that skin off and put a new roof skin on. And that's gonna be it for the big part of the cosmetics. There's still gonna be a lot of work to do on the engine. Interior needs work, stuff underneath the suspension. We are doing a complete disc brake swap on this thing too from the old drums. So that's gonna be a big project, and you know, it seems daunting, but it doesn't seem that daunting. So I'm sure I'll be kicking myself in the pants here pretty soon going, what am I doing? But we're gonna have fun, we're gonna get it done and give Darren something he can have fun with. So this was not the most action-packed video. Hopefully you've had a little bit of entertainment from it. And hit that subscribe button below, share it with your friends. Also, if you've not been out to our site on Teespring, link is below. We did add a bunch of new merchandise, theme shirts for the Challenger Challenge, the 52, and the Giraffe, the 74 Spitfire way in the back here. So we've got those projects coming along. We've got shirts for those. And like I say, if we run out of parts for the old Mopar here, we will just start cracking into either the engine work on the Mustang or the convertible Triumph frame swap or the 52 body work. We've got a lot of projects. I just don't have enough time for them all right now. And I'd like to get the Challenger back to Darren as quickly as we can so he can enjoy that. Because my cars, they'll always be here. Alrighty, well I'm dragging on, so I'm gonna end it here. Like I said, don't forget to hit subscribe below, share it with your friends, check out all of our stuff on Facebook, Instagram, of course here on YouTube, Patreon, Teespring, you know the drill like everybody else. So until the next video, hope you guys all have a great time, are staying safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.